Hey, I finally managed to drag my lazy ass onto Wargame and cast 2 more games that I am supposed to cast, which I first forgot about and then was too lazy to do. And in a way also kind of too busy because at the moment I don't really want to or can really stream in the evening, and I don't really like streaming in the afternoon or midday, whatever you want to call it. So I decided I might as well record it, right? And this might be the last game I'm gonna cast of this tournament just because I'm so far behind and I'm always taking ages to actually cast the replays. Which is also kind of due to my lack of interest in Wargame right now. So I'm sorry for that, and sorry to True Orb and Sander that I'm lagging behind here, but enough of that. I'm gonna cast 2 loser round games. First one is Standard Huron versus Fuser, and the winner of that will play against True Orb himself, I believe, even though the name is different in the next match. So 2 replays in one video. At first, let's go over the decks. So in the first round, we have Standard Huron playing Landjut. Let's not forget this is a non-DLC tournament, in case you forgot about it or haven't watched any of the other casts that I streamed live. So what do we have here? Nothing out of the ordinary fob with M110s. Firestarter really started something with those M110s, dude. We have the Leopard 1A3 DK, which is, if I'm not wrong, an objectively worse Leopard 1. No, oh yes, I think it's an objectively worse Leopard 1A4. Yep, Leopard 1A4 is exactly the same, but it has medium optics, which is quite a big deal. So that's something that you should keep in mind. Other than that, not really too spectacular. The medium tanks here that Germany has is, well, Landjut I guess as well, but they don't really offer much. The medium tanks are really just kind of awkward and not that great. But then again, you're not facing M84As, so it's not that big of a deal as it would be if you had to face Entente. Though Wilkes K1s, even T72B1s in a sense, or T80s are going to be awkward and a bit of a problem. And other medium tanks as well that I probably just forgot about. We're not done with the deck. What am I doing? Other than that, seems a fairly standard deck. F16A block 15 instead of KWS. Very good ASF. Basically, they're both very good choices. Personally, I prefer the KWS. Block 15 is, yeah, like I said, just a cheaper choice. Still very effective. Yeah, it's just personal preference whether you want just a more affordable plane. That's really all about it. And let's not forget that he basically has a backup ASF with the F16A MLU, so that's maybe his thought process behind the choice of the F16A instead of the KWS. Yeah. Drake and W DNS, kind of a plane that I think people forget about. It's actually a very, very decent bomber compared to the IDS, which isn't that great. It basically trades a bit of speed for 2 additional bombs, a bit of speed and the sidewinders for 2 more bombs and a better turn radius, which is perfectly fine considering it's basically just a pure bomber. And the Tornado IDS isn't really that great at killing helicopters anyways, with a bad gun and a bad turn radius and a pretty high speed. If you want to have a pure anti-helicopter plane, you usually want a bit lower speed, like 900 or 750 kilometers per hour. 1 second, guys. Sorry if I sounded a bit like talking out of the nose there. I forgot the proper term for that. Anyways, let's forget about that. Recon tab is also a bit awkward because we don't have access to any shock or elite infantry. Spader aren't really great. BGS are okay, but let's not forget they only have good stealth, whereas any recon infantry that isn't militia has very good, which is actually quite a big deal. But they're therefore very, very cheap. Personally, I would have preferred to use them in the Jupiter, but he can't take them because he has the Führungsgruppe in them. What he could have done is just take the Danish ones instead. Then he could have taken those in the Jupiter, which, while I'm not a huge fan of the 5-point trucks, and I nearly always prefer to have my recon infantry in 10-point 150 kilometers per hour due to the off-road speed. Considering that they are only 10 points and they don't really have another choice that is faster or 150 kilometers road speed, I prefer the Jupiter. Other than that, really not a huge choice. No looks, so no wheels. Nothing wheeled really at all in the deck other than the CV. I saw that correctly. And I guess the supply tracks on the other CV. Yeah, I don't know. I probably would have switched out either the Leopard or the Wildcat for the looks, just to have something fast that is armed and can be used as a reaction to something that might be behind flanks or anything like that. Infantry tab, nothing really out of the ordinary. He did take the 2 armored transports, which is important. I honestly, personally, maybe would have even switched out 1 card of Milan 2 for a card of Milan 1. Milan 1 aren't really that great, but you can get them on Veteran, which massively boosts the accuracy. And for 15 points, you can really spam them, and you also get quite a lot of them. So for like flanks or something, or just, you know, 15 points here and there, it's not going to be a huge shield, but they can fend off light vehicles or IFVs. I think in a mech deck where you can use like so many slots, I think they might actually be very worth it. And when I played the Anzac armor deck for quite a while, I felt like that they are a bit underappreciated. And honestly, in certain decks, I think it might even be worth trying out the Milan over the Milan 2 if you have only 1 card of ATGM infantry. And playing a bit of USA, I also started to appreciate even just the light rifleman, the extra range, and the very, very cheap price. I think makes him actually quite a good choice. Not a huge fan of Deckungsgruppe, but with the Marder 1, but that's a very cheap way to get a Marder 1 and just some forces that can hold down something defensively pretty effectively. And again, in a mech deck, you can certainly you just have the activation points and slots to put in such niche units. Alright, let's take Fuser's deck. He's playing Eastern Bloc, which is, in my opinion, together with Eurocore, probably the best deck that you can play. And I guess mixed. Oh no, mixed decks are allowed. Yeah, mixed decks are allowed, just without DLC infantry. First thing I dislike is, and it's just a pet peeve. It's not really big deal, but the way he ordered some of his unit cards. He has a 120 point, then a 160 point, and a 90 point deck. It's just something that's, and I think there's a lot of people out there who like to order units by a certain scheme, I guess you could say. Though no, never mind. Okay. In any case, he's taking Führungstruppe in the MI TV. There's really no reason to not take either the Polish or the Czech infantry, CV infantry in the MI-17, because the MI-17 is so much superior. The armor is negligible, but the 24 HE rockets are so much better than the 64 1 HE rockets. Then he has 2 cards of Moschitz 91, the SPW 51, the SPW 80, and Niebieski Beretti in the Topaz 2A. So I'm supposing that this is his main raw fighting infantry against other infantry, and this is like a infantry 4/4s, obviously, that can kill heavy as shit. Obviously LSTR, if you don't take them, you're bad. I don't know, I'm not a huge fan of Moschitz 90 personally. The anti-tank weapon is just way too inconsistent, even in forests. First of all, if you're in towns or at the edge of a forest and the enemy is engaging, there's a high chance that you will never be able to fire your anti-tank weapon against the enemy IFV or anything, just because you like the range. Second of all, and same goes with towns. Second of all, the lack of range also reduces the bonus of accuracy you get when you shoot in forest. What I mean with that is, if you had 700 meter range and you were shooting in the forest, you would get a better accuracy bonus due to the low range you're fighting at. And so even in forests, this is a very, very inconsistent anti-tank weapon. Which is why even for anti-vehicle purposes, I even start to prefer the Mordschützen, because while they have lower accuracy and obviously much lower AP, they at least have the range to two-shot most IFVs that are outside of towns and relatively close. SPW-80, not a huge fan of taking Mordschützen in that, but it's an okay transport. Topaz 2A, kind of not really seen a lot, and for 10 points, it has 2 armor and it has a weapon, but in general, Niebieski, Bireti aren't just that great. If you ignore the transport for now, you pay 10 points to get 5 more men and a bit more ammo and anti-tank weapons. You get a slight, very, very slight DPS increase. Not a lot. It only slightly affects the primary weapon stats. And 5 more HP. And that's definitely not worth 10 points. And you don't really see that a lot. It has only 5 AP. I think even the Mars has 6 AP. I mean, it has 16 rounds, but I'm not in general, I'm not a huge fan of cluster artillery that isn't the Smerch or the Yatagams. But I mean, I don't know, maybe it'll work out. Personally, I prefer the RM70, which again is also not the best of units, but I think it has I feel like it is more versatile. Recon tab, not really a huge deal here, not too different from what I'm running, I think. Tank tab. Personally, I prefer the M1 Wilk over the M1M because of the extra rounds per minute. You do lose a bit of stabilizer, a bit of speed, you gain 1 side armor, but especially the 8 to 9 rounds per minute is a huge deal, especially since you're auto-loaded. But it's M1M is definitely, certainly still a very good choice. So it's also a bit map dependent. On some maps you want the M1M, maybe on some maps you want the M1 Wilk. 72S1 over the M2 Wilk. I tried it out myself as well, but I feel like the extra RPM instead of the extra armor is more versatile. Again, you trade a bit of speed and gain side armor, but not a wrong choice, I guess you could say. I personally prefer both the M1 and the M2 Wilks over the M1M and the T72S1. Moderna, obviously, one of the best and most versatile super heavies in the game, especially also what's wrong today? Also because you get 3 per card instead of 2, like most other super heavies, except for the Challenger 2. AirTap, MiG-25 RBF, good bomber. Personally, I prefer the MiG-29 because it has more ECM, better turn radius, short range missiles, and these bombs. While they only have 12 HE, they have, I'm pretty sure, maybe it's just a visual thing, but first of all, I think they have a relatively high AoE compared to, let's say, the Tornado IES, and obviously they leave napalm behind. It's really one of the best bombers in the game. And while it's certainly not as impactful as like an F111C, it's just very consistent, I guess you could say. And again, the added side effect of leaving napalm behind can be very, very useful. Another ASF, always up with this ASF. If you have the choice between 3 low rank and 2 high rank ASFs, 99% of the time up with them. Especially if you have 2 cards of ASFs. That's the deck, so let's get into the replay. Hell in a very small place should certainly favor Sander with his Langit mechanized deck. Oh god, it's just a 12-minute game. Alright, let's skip over the deployment phase. The deck overview went longer than the actual replay. Well, that's interesting. Alright. We have a shit ton of infantry for mid by Fuser. No AA other than 2 squads of LCR. Those are the LCR and those are the Mordschützen, which you can see when you look at the veterancy. More infantry on top. 2 squads of Mordschützen, 3 squads of Mordschützen, 2 squads of LSTR, excuse me. 3 squads of Mordschützen. And he starts with the cluster BM27. So I'd assume he's maybe gonna cluster here or here. I don't know the exact timing. Infantry and an automatic for here, most likely with the Leopard 1 and some holding forces there. Wildcat for the flank, I'd imagine. He's certainly going to push Golf by the looks of it. Yeah. Alright, let's see how it goes. BM27 is not aiming yet. If you want to... Still not aiming. Now he's aiming. I think that's a bit too late. It's already 15 seconds in. If you start with one and you want to cluster the opening, most of the time you want to do it immediately, but maybe he knows the timing for 15 seconds in or something. Let's see. And let's not forget that wait, what? Wait, what? He bought it to CV snipe. Okay, that's interesting. Well, he could have known that Sanaturin has an infantry CV, because right at the start of the game, Alpha was uncapped, and then he unloaded the CV. He even got 1 CV point. So that was just... I don't even know what to say. The helicopter dies, I don't even know what name. A scout defender, that's it. 2 mortars. The speed is up a bit until they actually engage. Fennec 20mm for the flank. These are moving up very deeply, but they're actually getting in there. Leopard 1 got 1 shot off, or 2 shots, but only hit once. And those infantry can do a lot of work, unless they're not unloading. Because the Lift Guard are not on attack move. These are, now they are. Ooh, this could end very badly. And I don't think the Lift Guard are living. Oh, the automatic. If the Lift Guard keep on living, then the automatic could do a lot of work here. Mordschützen and SPW are focused on shooting the Lift Guard, so they're using the MG. Then the automatic gets in range, and the Mordschützen will not automatically switch to the RPG-7 to shoot the automatic. So as long as the Lift Guard are alive, and as long as Fuser is not microing the infantry, the automatic will just mop the floor. The LSTR also seemed to not be in range for the automatic, so they can't see each other. But the automatic shooting at the Mordschützen has such a big AoE that it's also stunning the LSTR. Which... there they are, LSTR. Yeah. That's why LSTR is so great. Or one of the reasons, I should say. Because you don't necessarily have to micro them if the enemy uses fire support behind his infantry. And even when panicked in forest range with a 70% base accuracy and a veteran accuracy multiplier, they are very, very strong. Or always hit, I should say. Practically always. So that's a very nice push and very good foothold for Fuser. However, there's a shit ton of stuff coming in from Sanaturin. BM27 has reloaded. He should definitely fire it as soon as possible to make good use of the fob. Though I think it may be too close to use it in that area. Let's quickly... Where is it? I think it's this here. USKB TNT 72 M1 engaging. Leopard 201s should definitely move up, but they are not. I think he's busy microing at the bottom here. 201s could easily deal with that M1M. And now that single Dragona squad has to engage in Niebieski. Now he's moving up his stuff. MI35. Ooh, Mordschützen are being caught out before they can allow it. Automatic easily deals with the MI35. LSTR got killed by, yeah, Martyrs and Panzergrens. Too much fire support. Oh, and the MI35 gets in too deep here. just gets wrecked by those RH202s. And one of them is still alive, but it's not giving the Nabieski and Mochitson, excuse me, any fire support. My other one is also not moving up though. Enzagrans versus 2 squads of Mochitson. They should lose, but only one of the Mochitson squads are actually in the fight. Against 2 LSCR and another Mochitson squad, I don't think the Pantherans stand a chance. Martyrs are also not going to do a lot of work, because they have to get at plus 800, more than 875 meter range away from the LSTR to actually do something, because now they're just dying instantly, basically. Or not, because the fire is forcing the LSTR to move away and out of range. Now there's the BM-27 firing. It's a bit too far behind though. It might be able to get the automatic, but I don't think so, because it's in this area. It should have fired like this area, maybe even this one. But it's basically too late because he doesn't have any sight there anymore, or any eyes. This meanwhile is now in Senaturan's hands. Oh, the Milan F2 might do some nasty stuff here. Oh, it could get the M1M. Oh no. Oof. Good old Milan 2. You can always rely on the Milan 2 to miss when you need it to hit the most. M1M deals with the Mother 1 easily. Nothing going on the flanks. There is a wildcat here though. I would move it closer to here so it stops any unarmed IFVs or transports, anything along those lines, to get into the forest and unload the infantry, because in the forest it basically stands no chance against Mochitson. Not looking too good for Fuser though, I'd say. Bravo is in complete hands of Senaturan, although it's not really fortified very heavily. Even Golf is mostly in Senaturan's hands, though Fuser still can very easily reinforce that. He just has to watch out for the Leopard, though with all the houses it doesn't have the best line of sight. It can probably shoot up until like this line here, and so he can easily reinforce this town or get into this forest there. MiG-25 bomber coming in, trying to bomb the Milan F2. Very expensive bombing run for something that, first of all, is very cheap, second of all, already moved. So not really the best choice of resource use right there. Usage, I should say. Leopard 1 moving up, but it's just gonna die to those Mochitson most likely. Or even the SPW-80s, since the Leopard 1 only has 2 side armor. Yeah, now it's dead. If you heard that right now, that's just me turning off my mic for a second. It's like a little button. So, not much happening right now. That infantry is getting wrecked, but I think Fuser is probably... Oh, the wildcat killed a CV there. And yeah, Fuser is just giving up now. Well, that was a rather one-sided and short match. So it is Senaturan versus True Orb in the next round, which we'll immediately move on to. Senaturan is using the same deck to my knowledge, and True Orb is using mixed blue for. Oh, nice, the armory bag. Haven't had that one in a while, in case you don't know. This is basically, this is I think where the ships are displayed. And over there, you can't use WASD in here, by the way, as you can see. It's kind of a, can I use the arrow keys? No, I can't. Kind of awkward to get over there. And this is where the ground units are displayed. I guess if I had turned on it, I can move it with moving my mouse to the edge. It would have been easier. Whatever. So mixed Luthor. Obviously you only get 45 activation points, so it's only 4 cards of planes, only 3 cards of CVs or logistics, only 2 cards of tanks. Let's see. Sojourning to 85 in the K200, basically wannabe Zeldas, 2 armor, 2 MGs, one of them being a Browning. Practically the same infantry inside. I wouldn't have upwetted them. I would have kept them downwetted because you really just want to spam them. And with 15 points, it's easy to run out. He also gets only one card. He also upwetted those. Again, I personally disagree. Those are also meant to spam. Commandos 90 are not upwetted. Again, you don't really want to upwet too much with mechanized. Even though you think, hey, you get so much, you want to upwet everything. Most of the time, you mostly just want to upwet like 80 GM infantry, manpads, and the like. This is a very, very weird choice. I can't help but think that he accidentally chose those because that's a terrible, terrible IFV. Sure, you have 4 armor, but you have a bad rate of fire, bad accuracy, and a bad range. Like if you compare to the RH202, you can see the RH202 has 5% more accuracy and stabilizers, and a much higher rate of fire. And it has a lot more ammo. I don't know, this is just a terrible, terrible IFV with also bad autonomy. I don't know what you use that, especially... I can't help but think that he wanted to have the STRF and fucked up too late. I'd never use this. I can see maybe he wanted to use Panzer Scooter in like a... Maybe he wanted to have decent anti-tank capabilities for a relatively cheap price, but he already has Fusilier 90s for that. I don't get it. Like, either take a second card of these in a KAFV, which is just one of your best unit cards that you get in mixed mechanized, or use them in the STRF 90. Or if you wanted a decent anti-tank capability for a relatively cheap price, let's see. You have chosen... This is probably the better choice even. Sure, you lose the 20 RPM, but you gain accuracy. And most importantly, your IFV is like actually decent. It's basically your Marder 1 with 1 less front armor. What else could you have chosen? You could have chosen Fusilier 90s in the Warrior. I think even the Warrior might be better than this thing, because at least it's accurate and has a decent range. Or what else? Panzergrens have only 16 AP. Or maybe just even Rifleman 90 in the Bradley. Which is, okay, it's 5%, 5 points more expensive, but still. It's just a terrible choice. I can't help but think that this was an accident. I don't know, that RBS 90, not a huge fan of them. If you want manpads, I would have chosen Mistrals. And he already has the RBS 56 with the STRF 9040. So I'm not really, I don't really, oops, I accidentally removed them. I don't really think that's the best choice. AA, nothing out of the ordinary. Some people like the Gepard A1 because it has stabilizers. Yeah. I don't think that's really too surprising. Roland 3, just very decent. Chieftain Mark 11, I personally think is a bad tank because of the speed. High AP, relatively okay front armor and low RPM. Makes it basically a shoot and scoot tank. Shoot, pop out of cover, shoot, get back into cover. Can't do that effectively due to very low off-road speed, making it basically a bad tank. I tried it a lot myself. It's, again, 19 AP for 80 points. Sorry if I'm talking a bit fast here. And you have problems understanding me. 19 AP for 80 points, very good. 14 armor is okay. Probably also very good. I would have to compare it. Amazing would have been if it had 20 AP and 13 armor, because it would have been the perfect threshold for, and sacrifice the perfect amount of armor points sacrificed for AP if you compare it to other tanks. But again, the off-road speed makes it basically unusable. There's no reason to not take the K1 instead, really. The Chieftain Mark 11 is just not a very good tank. Even the M1 IP would have been better, even if it lacks range. But basically, the K1, what else is there? Can't take Israeli tanks. Yeah, I would have certainly taken the K1 instead. Or maybe just Leopard A is 1 plus. Or Chieftain Mark 5 if you want to have a cheap tank. But the Mark 11 is just not a good tank. Challenger 1 Mark 1. That's basically... It's quote unquote ancient. The Challenger 1 Mark 1 versus the M1A1 in mixed Blue 4 decks. In the past, I've seen other people, including myself every now and then, although I didn't play a lot of mixed decks, preferring the Challenger Mark 1 over the M1A1. because of the 4 top armor, making it a lot more resilient to laser guided bomb planes. But first of all, there's no Kerners in this tournament, which means that the most prevalent. There's a word that sounds similar like that. The most used laser guided bomb plane is not seen, so the only one you have to watch out for is really the Harrier Tier 7, because nobody is gonna play Red Dragons, and USA most likely also not. And even then, instead of the Tier 7, you most likely would just see the Keihu as an anti-tank plane. Second of all, it has only 7 rounds per minute, so for 10 points, basically, if you compare those, for 10 points, you trade 2 armor for 2 AP, and you get 2 RPM. The top armor is not really a big deal. Off-road speed is also worth noting. I'm just stumbling over words here, I'm sorry. Autonomy is a big deal. However, you have to keep in mind that the speed basically affects how well. Autonomy is just a timer. You have to keep in mind, even though it says kilometers, it's actually seconds. It means the amount of seconds that the unit can move. So if you're faster and can move shorter, that means that basically it's just as good as moving slower but moving longer. Most of the time. But yeah, nowadays I think the M1A1 is the better choice. Recon type, nothing out of the ordinary. MX10, I definitely would have downvoted that when you take only 1 card. Probably one of the best recon infantry in the game, because it has a 5-point transport that also has very good off-road speed for whatever reason. Especially in mechanized, where you can't take any other wheeled transports other than the basic trucks. It's very nice to have. Other than that, fairly standard stuff. Vehicles, I think also fairly standard here. Not taking the M36, however, which is one of the few 10-point fire support vehicles with 2 armor left. ASU got nerfed. The ASU 85 got nerfed. The Yugoslav M36 got nerfed to 15 points. So M36 is still a very good choice. Probably better than the CEV in my opinion. Planes, I probably... Oh no, he doesn't get access to the KWS. So this is probably the best ASF he can get for mixed. Other choice would have been F-16 Block 15 from USA. However, that's more on the expensive side for 160 points. He could have taken Tornado F2, which is probably worse though, but yeah, fairly standardish plane type. However, he's taking the F-16A Falcon. So I guess since you can't take the Kerners, that's his choice. Not sure if that's the best idea, but it's still a very, very good bomber. Just relatively low survivability. So, let's get into the replay. Again, held in a very small place. So mech versus mech this time around. Lots of grinding. 28-minute game this time around. Let's skip the deployment. Center Turon again on the left, Troop on the right. SAS, most likely for flying around here. Or maybe just dropping here, we will see. So, basically by the looks of it, mostly the same setup as last time by Sander. And True Orb seems to be pushing mid. By the looks of it. Probably Foxtrot here. Maybe this area at the start, we will see. Though I think if you wanted to push here, he would have driven down that road. On the other hand, you could make the argument that he would drive down this so he doesn't get shot at from here while driving down this road. Not a lot of AMX... Not a single AMX-10, I think. Yeah. Strange. Could have easily fucked up Sanaturan's opener here with a couple of AMX-10s. Speed a bit up. Both suiciding helicopters just to see where they're pushing. So Sander Turon will No, he doesn't see this, so he probably still thinks that it's gonna get pushed here because it's still quite a lot of units. But True Orb definitely knows that Senator is pushing on the left. And now there's a push coming in. Nothing that Senator can really do here. The automatic will most likely die in a bit. Oh, is he immediately pushing up there? Oh, that's very ballsy, but it will certainly pay off. Oh man, that's just not a good choice of units. Let's see, what's the reaction? 2 Mother ones being bought. Ooh, he'll have a problem reinforcing here. He needs a scout and kill the Challenger 1 with the anti-tank plane or something. That's gonna be a pain in the ass. Although the Challenger 1 is moving into this area, probably trying to flank this force, which might bite him in the ass. Ooh, Milan 2 finishes off the Leopard 1 scout, which is very, very good. 2 Leopard 2 1s, and the third one here could really fuck up those tanks. But then again, Senator could also easily get fucked up since he doesn't have line of sight, or a scout rather, to spot them. So that could easily go with both ways, especially since True Orb has some cheap units to soak up fire. Meanwhile, he is being pushed. Fusilier 90s were engaging the Pentagrams before seeing the Marder 2s, so they're not shooting at the Marder 2s, meaning that they will get fucked. LMG being turned off, but it's way too late, they were stunned and dead. Leopard 2 1s are pushing here. Recon Leopard is dead. Only one of the Leopard 2 1s got shot at. If he moves up... Ooh, Chieftain gets fired at. Oh, it was a side shot by the Leopard 1. What he should do now is fast move this one up, this one first, up here, and then move the Leopard 2 and 1 behind. This one will be in line of sight first of the Challenger 1, so unless True Orb will micro it, it will shoot at this one first, not being able to kill it in one shot because it has 16 armor, and the Challenger 1, even if it had 30 AP, wouldn't be able to one-shot it up front. The Chieftain Mark 11 just shot also is only 7 rounds per minute, so this could be a very, very good opportunity for Senator to kill the Challenger 1 Mark 1, and potentially even the Chieftain Mark 11, most likely though with losing one tank. If he had still this Leopard 2 1 here, he could easily just move up there, which he may be doing right now. I hope I didn't speak too fast and you didn't understand shit here. He's moving up both. Moving up the damaged one first though, which could prove badly. Yep, that's exactly what I meant. Leopard 2 1 can still finish off the Challenger 1 Mark 1, but there's this Chieftain who is also on the left side, so that's exactly what I meant. If he had moved up this one first, it would have tanked the shot, and both would have fired at the Challenger 1 Mark 1 and killing it. And that's why it's so crucial to micro which unit you're moving up first, because instead of having a Challenger 1 Mark 1, Chieftain Mark 11, and Leopard 2 1 here, there could be 2 damaged Leopard 2 1s and 1 Chieftain Mark 11. With this Leopard 2 1 moving up from behind. So in the best case scenario, Senator would be able to potentially move both of his damaged 2 1s back into cover here. And this Leopard 2 1 would come from behind, kill those Chieftain Mark 11, resulting in True Orb having no tanks left, and Senator having 3 Leopard 2 1s left. Obviously, hindsight is 20/20, but but this Leopard 2 1 move here was just, in a way, sloppy. On the other hand, I think it was just Senator panicking a bit, maybe, or just not quite realizing that one was damaged or which one was moving up first. Again, let's keep in mind, I didn't say it before, but these are not really high tier level players we're watching right there. So don't think I'm like trash talking them or anything. This is more like showing you what your players or quote unquote worst players are doing, and some mistakes that they are often doing, and maybe not even realizing that it's a mistake, you know. So please don't think that I'm like trash talking them or something. Considering how little I played over the past 5 months, I probably would do the same mistake as well. As a caster, you obviously have all-seeing eyes, and it's easier to say what is the best course of action here, because I see both sides and all that. Challenger 1 Mark 1 getting down to 2 HP though. Oh, for a second I thought it was a plane coming in, but long-range engagements against 2 tanks with decent AP, especially Chieftain with 19 AP, yeah. That was a massive loss for for Senaturon. Not just the direct loss in what units he lost, but also he didn't just lose 200 points of tanks here. Effectively, he lost. Effectively, it's a point. Effectively, he lost, let's say, basically 400 points. It's a 400 points of unit difference in terms of both players that could have been the other way around. Instead of losing 200 points of tanks, he could have preserved 200 points and killed those 200 points here. If that makes any sense. Chieftain Mark 11 again getting sideshot, but again surviving. Both of these chieftains. Ooh, Peace Run kills a Chieftain Mark 11. Dragoner don't have line of sight on this chieftain though. No, it doesn't. But yeah, that's very, very unfortunate for Senaturon. What happened? Oh, there the SAS from the start. Okay. Also Gasai Cannon here, the flank. Still no CV for Echo, and Trobe is just Chicken +2. Meanwhile, the Leopard 2-1 did manage to finish off the Challenger. But again, he could have had 2 more Leopard 2-1s here. Or instead of this Leopard 2-1, SCV in there. Very unfortunate. Those SAS could definitely do quite some trouble. Though, if they move out through the open into this town, I think the Führungsgruppe might actually win if they had the guns turned on. Which, turning them off is the right choice most of the time. But this is one of the few scenarios where, in theory, you would have wanted them to be turned on, maybe. Oh, it's gonna die here. Unless they're not on attack move. And rest in peace. Meanwhile, this force here got fucked as well. Not looking very good for Senaturon. He's behind in points. He's not ticking. He basically lost golf. So they're, when it comes to having ground on the contesting sectors, they're more or less equal. I guess there's a slight favor of Senaturon since he has this forest here. He has quote-unquote full control of Bravo. The both don't really have a lot there. And whereas he still has some control over golf. But here's this happening, which might... Peace Run managed to finish off the helicopter, which is very, very important. I'm not sure if smoking here is the best idea. Because it... I don't know. Maybe you should have turned on the gun on the Führungsgruppe. And yeah, okay, this is... Senaturon just lost more than 200 points, he lost conquest points, and he had to micro there. This is very, very bad. This is very, 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 very bad for Senaturon. Challenger 1 Mark 1 being bought. Leopard cannon here out in the open should certainly move into there. True Orb is pushing in mid while Senaturon is still busy dealing with the SAS and buying base defense. That's very, very bad for him. Yeah. That's one of the... That's why this spawn is a lot harder to defend, because of all these bushes and towns and shit here. And so one thing to do is just basically put like 2 Dragoner squads in like nearby towns. That probably would have saved him. Again, hindsight, as always, is 2020, so I'm not necessarily blaming him here, but he didn't really have any base defense, let's be fair. Or let's be real here. Leopard 2-1's just moving down there. I think he didn't expect the Fusilier 90s to be there, which caught them off guard. They are surviving, but they're both very low, and I think that the Leopard cannon even got a side shot on one of them. Basically, he's attacking actually, which is, now that his Leopard 2-1s are damaged, is not the best idea. He should definitely move back, because against the full health Challenger 1 Mark 1, he's most likely gonna lose. And with the Pentagrams being dead here, I think, yeah, Senaturon lost sight on the Vercanning now. So that's why, being only on 1 HP, can just shoot at them without getting shot at in return. Commandos 90 moving in from the back. This is not looking good for him. This is not looking good at all. Jupiter being bought, not for Echo? Okay, this is being bought for Echo. But our commanders 90 finished up the Leopard 201, and this is looking very, very bad for standard Turan. I'm not really sure if he can come back from this. He's basically being pushed everywhere and being pushed out everywhere as well. I think he's probably has a good chance of still holding on here because it's just one squad. What he has to do now is definitely hold onto this forest and try to keep his presence up here and get something in this town, and then probably try to push him out of here and see if we can push into Charlie. But he'll need some good luck and some very, very good trades. And I don't know, I can't see him winning this. Lost this town, he doesn't have presence in there. Which I'm not blaming him for at this moment, because he couldn't teleport his units instantly in there, so that's nothing. He couldn't have prevented that from the moment where I said it. But yeah, he's just in a terrible position. Challenger 1 Mark 1 is getting killed, but still there's infantry in there. Kyler being bought, but yeah, there's nothing that he can really do right now. Kyler kills the SAS, but he obviously could just drive down here, kill the Gabbard and the PA4 CV, but hindsight is 2020, he doesn't know what's in there. And you could say that, well, he's losing, so he should basically move up everything and see if he can do something, but even I think the Leopard 1 or the Leopard mechanic might just kill it if it tries to drive down there. Another Challenger 1 Mark 1 kill here, but it's just way too late, he can't come back from this. True Up is still taking with +1 and is even moving up here now, and most likely gonna get into this town with 4 squads of infantry. Yeah. Leaf Gardens are just getting fucked by those 5-point transports even. Again, in Challenger 1 Mark 1 kill, so sure, in the end he's making some good trades, but it's just, first of all, it's not like he's getting ahead in destruction points, most likely he's just catching up still from all the losses here and the tank losses. So, yeah. And that's it. Yeah, not really much to say. I think there are 2 points that contribute the most to him losing the game. First of all, was the tank battle in the middle, which could have been prevented even if you didn't see what I saw. If he just slightly adjusted the position of his Leopard 201 is all that was needed, really. That goes to show how these little positions in which you move up first and all that can make such a huge difference, and that's one of the things why Wargame is so amazing to me and so mesmerizing, I guess you could say. That these things can make such a huge difference, but also show the difference between a quote-unquote high-level experienced player and I don't really want to say bad players. They're certainly not bad players. They're like average, or probably even above average if you compare it with everyone. But these normal good players, you know, I'm not saying they're trash. Please don't take this as me trying to trash talk them, okay? But between these mid-tier players, let me just call them, players, again, they probably know this, but in the moment of time you sometimes forget about it, or you're panicking, or you're realizing it too late and all that. So I'm not really blaming them again. So that's just one of the things why Wargame is so amazing, and why I hate it every time when people try to bring up stuff like, oh, make units automatically change, or make units automatically shoot at the weakest units, or make units automatically switch to their anti-tank weapon as soon as there's a vehicle coming up in the middle of an infantry fight. No, this is something that differentiates good from bad players. People who know all the mechanics in and out, people who know how to micro. Don't take this shit away from Wargame. But I'm drifting away here. And the second point was obviously when the SAS just came around, which was hard to prevent. I'm not saying, but it was certainly possible if he just had 2 Dragoners or something in the town. There was, if I saw it correctly, nothing in the spawn to defend him. There was a Fennec or something on the flank, I believe. or maybe that was in the other game, but he had a good chance of preventing that if he just bought like 2 squads or something. I think losing the Iltis was more or less unpreventable. So what I like to do is let me just quickly get into the replay again so I can show you what I mean. What I like to do on this map is, when I start on this side, is I put a unit most of the time on this edge, and it's most importantly on this edge, because it happens fairly often that units want to move in from this forest into the back here, and this basically protects anything from moving over the open field here into there if we put a wildcat there, and then another one like into this area. And sure, that would have been like 75 points in terms of wildcats, but look at what if it could prevent it. And I'm not saying buy that from the get-go. It would have been enough if he bought it like 2 minutes into the game, 3 minutes. And again, it was something that could have been prevented. Of course, you never have really 100% preventability. I don't even know if that's correct in terms of these things, because of all these towns and bushes here. But having no base defense doesn't help either, really. There's a wildcat here which is moving up here, which is perfectly fine. But really no base defense at all. 2.5 minutes into the game. 3 minutes, not even here, a Fennec 20mm or here. So this is, he did have something here in the first game, and I think here as well. So I don't know why he suddenly switched. So 4 minutes in, he had 5 minutes, more than 5 minutes to buy Fennec for here or anything really, but he still hasn't bought anything. So that's just sloppy, you know. And it's nothing really that only high level players do or something. Like here, true up also at base defense. Though granted, this is easier to defend, but even if just because something is hard to defend or nearly impossible, I guess you could argue, doesn't mean that you shouldn't put any defense there. But yeah, again, you learn from these mistakes, you know. Even if you lose, you nearly always learn something. Unless you're me, because I always only exclusively lose to bad RNG, of course. I know, I'm just kidding, of course. These kind of scenarios, even if you lose, you still learn something, which is, yeah. Just don't, if you lose like this or something, don't blame the game, don't like blame some cheese or something. Learn from it. I mean, if you get healer rush, that's a different thing, but yeah. Yeah, I don't know when I'll stream again. I don't know when I'll upload a video again. I hope you still enjoyed the cast. I hope you hopefully learned something. Sorry for being so late to Senator, Fuser, Jurop, and well, everyone who expected those casts. I'm really sorry. I was anticipating that I would cast more frequently and have some more self-discipline, I guess you could say. Yeah, I'll probably not cast any more games. Maybe 1 more, 2 more. I don't know. Don't expect anything really. And see you hopefully next time, whenever it is. I don't know.